Hello and good evening. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your evening with us today and Bina's haiku poetry. Prakriti Foundation, we are based out of Chennai, but we have events across India. This is our 25th year, and this program and tomorrow's program is part of our 25 years celebration. Today we are very, very happy to launch Ukiyo-e Days, which is Bina's 7th book of poems. Bina has been a friend of the foundation, a dear friend to all of us and the foundation for many, many years, and an excellent writer, which you will get to know very, very soon. Bina is a poet, writer, and art curator, and founder, editor, designer, publisher of International Gallery, a biannual global arts and ideas journal since 1997. Like I mentioned, this is a 7th collection of poems, which was published by Red River. This has been released across the globe in multiple platforms as well, and as Sandhya mentioned, the books are available for sale, and Bina will be happily sign them after for you. There is going to be a very short introduction about the haiku and the woodblock prints by Bina herself for about roughly 10 minutes, and then she will be in conversation with another poet, Bangalore-based poet, Purnima.
So this book happened over a very short period of time, but it was in my mind for a long time because I lived in Japan for 5 years, and in fact, I got married in Tokyo to my crazy husband, and who's sitting right here, and. And that was when my love was more inflamed by the arts and culture of Japan, which I love, and I have a very emotional connect with Japan. So this book happened because of my speak louder. Oh, okay. Sorry. This book happened because of my love for the arts in general, global arts. And here we have the traditional woodblock prints of Japan, which it's a laborious process, but something that has been around since the 17th century. And I've traced its journey from the 17th century until contemporary times to show how the work has evolved over the years, the style has evolved over the years. It's fascinating for me. I hope it's as fascinating for all of you. So when it commenced, this was, I'll tell you, if you don't mind, I'm going to be reading from my notes because nowadays I'm getting a little fuzzy in my head. Forgive me. So these were monochromatic prints. That's how it started until they discovered color and how to use color. So Hishikawa Moronobu was the first person who initiated the process. And so if you read it, ukiyo-e it means floating images. And Edo is the city which is now called Tokyo. So I will come to what it means. The next one is the color work that he came up with later. And as you can see, my haiku describes or responds to each image. In those days, the ukiyo-e artists always responded either to geisha or to nightlife, or to women's beauty. You know, these were the things that they started with. And in front, you will see there is a man, a laborer walking with a whole lot of weight on his back. So what I'm trying to say here is, into the long night, her toil of pleasure giving, that's the geisha sitting inside. A tale of two worlds, which is the man here and the geisha inside. It's important to read meanings beyond a visual. So we come to women, the beauties, Vijinga they were called. They were the reason why the artists were making these works, because it was just so beautiful for their eyes, and not always patriarchal. Like here, she's sitting and smoking a pipe, So it's very interesting how in those times she could do this with so much freedom. Here we have shunga, or what is called erotica, where, another thing these ukiyo-e artists excelled in was erotic work. But because I take my work to universities and everywhere, I can't show erotica so much. So, sorry? But here I'm showing how these two want the cock that crows early morning to go to sleep, so they're feeding it sake, so it doesn't wake them up early. This is, of course, one of my favorite ukiyo-e artists who's on the cover of the book, Toshusai Sharaku. And they did a lot of works with kabuki. And you know kabuki? You know of kabuki? Of course, you must be know. So this is a kabuki artist that he has painted. And there were many interpretations of kabuki you will discover in the book as you go along. Another work of Sharaku is this one, where in those days, the kabuki, even now, kabuki, the men dressed as women. And which is why I say, think of it this way: in one of my avatars, I shall be you. The other work, the other inspiration for them was the sport like sumo, which actually I was addicted to while living in Japan. I would just be sitting glued to the TV watching sumo. I don't know if I would do that now, but I was doing it then when I was much younger. And here he shows it. He shows that he's doing his sumo act with a foreigner, because at that time they were invaded by the foreigners, and therefore, he's showing that this is what we'll do to you if you stay here too long. Then we have Utagawa Kiyoshi, which is showing the warriors interpreted as frogs. So these are the different ways they would choose to interpret. And as you can see, as time went and they were evolving more and more, they were experimenting more and more with their thoughts. And here we have these frogs as warriors, it expels the sinister aspect of war and aggression. But the frogs, they're called kairu in Japan. They made it, kairu also means return, by the way, to Japan. So in Japanese, kairu means return. So this is another way of showing war where the Japanese, that region was always inflicted by so many conflicts. Therefore, we have here the skeleton spectre, which is again about conflict and war, and here the skeleton is a witch, and it's taken from a mythology. Takayasha was a princess who summoned a skeleton to freak out a warrior who was in conflict with her warlord father. So it's just the artist's interpretation of the mythology. Like how our miniature artists interpret mythology through their beautiful miniatures. This is the ukiyo-e form. So this one is a harsh depiction of war, which Kobayashi has done. And he lived in the early 20th century and created several works on Japan's multiple engagements with conflict. The Sino-Japanese Battle of Pyongyang, Korea, in one such episode depicted here, an elderly officer is shown bravely leading a young troop. The Chinese troops had fought valiantly, but could not counter the Japanese troop, whose training and morale was superior. Unfortunately, war is a product of chauvinism, ego plays, and greed, and projected as a mark of nationalism or defense of nationalism. Through centuries, armies have been mere cannon fodder. That's my take. I'm totally against what's happening in the world, especially now with Israel, Palestine, Ukraine, Manipur, you name it. It was rare through the years to have a woman ukiyo-e artist, but here is one, Katsushika Oi, who was the daughter of a printmaker, and she learnt printmaking from her father. And her father was Katsushika Hokusai, and he was extremely gifted, and so was she. But she remains unsung, I guess, as a woman. This work, though, is a variant of the woodblock on paper. It's done on a silk scroll. And she, again, evokes the horror of injured warrior bleeding. While life goes on, a man is playing Go, which is one of the old, very old board games. And in the foreground, it's an ambience atmosphere, but a murder is happening. This is life. I was told to use this pointer, but I kept forgetting. Sorry. Now we have, which one is this? A warrior woman, which is, again, rare, which is amazing. Tsukioka Yoshitoshi, it's late 19th century woman with a sword. She's ready to take on the world. It's one of the great masters of ukiyo-e, And Yoshitoshi was instrumental in nurturing and energizing the art of ukiyo-e in the 19th century, when there seemed to be a brief decline. That's when he revived the art form. That is basho. This is Yoshitoshi's reflection of the times of Basho, who's the most iconic and revered haiku person. So he's showing Basho stopping with some neighborhood farmers and drinking tea. The saint of haiku, I call him, rinsing his words in sake, not tea. Matsuo Basho. This image, I'm sure all of you have seen. It's the most seen ukiyo-e work, and the Great Wave, and it's traveled all over. It's all over the world, in fact. And this was also Hokusai, one of the famous artists who created it, just went viral. In fact, so popular that you can see it on T-shirts, you can see it on random things, on cookie. You'll see a Cookie Monster version of it, So it's all over. It's been appropriated. This is another very, very famous work, and it's Utagawa Hiroshige's the sudden shower over Shinohashi Bridge, and it's an 1857 work, and it's one of the famous vertical series in a book called 100 Years of Edo. It's full of the most amazing works of ukiyo-e. One day, if you find that book, it's a large book, it's beautiful. And then we have, we're getting into really modern times. We have sonata. This is sonata? No, this is pianissimo. Yeah, this is Keiji Shinohara's pianissimo. He's a professor, in fact, in a college in the US, and he has now begun showing woodblock in this new form, in this abstract, new form, which is fascinating. And for me, I end now with a young woodblock artist called Shisamu Iwase. He's, I would say, a new age millennial, born in 1981, and he practices this ancient style in a very contemporary vocabulary, in the manga style, the Japanese manga style, which is, they're famous for their animations. So this one. This is the manga style, which is a very popular Japanese contemporary style of work. And he's talking about mass production and consumption, the kind of world we live in today. The salary man is in Japan. If you go out around 5:36 or 7 o'clock perhaps, the salary man is whom you see everywhere on the streets with his briefcase, charging back home, but first he must go to the bar. And he goes to the bar, has his drink, has a mistress there a lot of the times, and then he goes home. But he has a very, very, very hectic life, from morning to night. Because then once he goes home, he has to be very gentle with his wife after the mistress. So you understand, salary man. And that's it. That's the. I hope. I hope it gives you a feel of the process, the trajectory of the work, how it from the 17th century until now, what its journey was like.
Um, so I found this concept extremely wonderful. I mean, I was aware of this whole concept of haiga, where the haiku poets themselves paint and draw and then write their own poems. But this was a very unique concept. I was completely unaware of the woodblock prints, and to have haiku alongside, I think it's a wonderful concept. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
First, I want to start with the most obvious question. Why haiku? I mean, rather, how haiku and why haiku? How did you even get into it?
Well, basically, I write poetry. I've written all my life poetry, and but today, I feel there's so much cacophony in the world that everyone's talking so much, everyone's writing so much. There's a surplus of it, and therefore, I like condensing thoughts into just 3 lines. 575 syllables, which is the regular haiku format, but the Western world has taken the liberty to change it from 575 to any random figuration, and so you can have 3, 8, 2, but the key thing is to get all your thoughts condensed in those 3 lines, and it should be strong, whether you're talking about a landscape or it's a political statement or any of those things. It's got to convey.
Right. So, how did you begin this whole haiku journey in itself? Where did it start for you?
Well, as I said, I've been writing for years and years,
Okay.
and
It has got nothing to do with your stay in Japan.
no, it has in a way, because living there when I was young shaped who I am today. So a lot of things I learned from Japan. A lot of what I do, it's aesthetics, for instance, it's sense of discipline. I learned a lot while I was there.
Okay. So, how did you go about coming to writing these haikus? I mean, there's a lot. When we look at a certain artwork, there's a lot of elements, a lot of things that are already happening in the painting itself. So it is difficult to pick out a certain image because haiku is all about images. So how did you go about processing the artwork and picking out one particular image that could suit your haiku? Or was that the process at all?
No, it's because I wanted to share the journey of ukiyo-e art, and I picked images that I spontaneously responded to. It was not too calculated. It was just a very spontaneous response to each image from each period.
Mm-hmm.
So there are several artists from a certain period, but I selected these because the images worked for me.
Okay. And a haiku is all about a lot of elements. Like you said, there's this whole cutting word called kireji, then this whole kigo, there's a reference of a word, of a weather that has to be there. Then, like you mentioned, 575 syllables, not strictly though. So, how do you go about writing a haiku for an artwork? I mean, do you think that restricts your writing, or you don't really get into that kind of nuances?
Actually, haiku has so many, like kigo and keigi that you, kigo. Actually, it's interesting. Kigo, kigo, means responding to landscapes and beauty of that sort. In Bengali, I'm Bengali, kigo is kigo, meaning I'm talking to my husband, kigo, what are you saying? So kigo in Japanese is actually a response to the natural elements. And the other one you said was?
The cutting word, kireji. That's
Yeah,
it called?
kireji is kireji. That's also a little bit of Bengali. So it's like what man, kireji, kireji, ki, what? But it means a punctuation in haiku. The way you use a word to punctuate the haiku. That's how it is.
Okay. So while we were discussing earlier, you said haiku comes to you naturally. So for me, it happened that I understood a lot about haiku, and then I thought, oh my God, it's just three lines. But to condense it and to write that, pick images and put them together, I somewhere at a certain level, I just stopped. I couldn't write anymore. So how is that for you? I mean, do you look at an image and you're moved by it because it's all about magnifying a certain image and picking that to write?
Yeah, as I said, you have to read images and the layers within the images. You have to read, and it comes to different people in different ways. What I'm reading, you may not be reading, So it's just that. It's
Okay.
how you respond to the world.
I'm going to refer a lot to my questions. These artworks reflect women in a certain era, mainly. Have you observed anything that holds probably still relevant, or that is strikingly not what is followed today?
Do you mean in Japan or in the world?
In the world.
In the world. Well, I think today at least women are fighting for their freedom a lot more than before. And although a lot of women are suffering in so many places in the world, I'm aware of how much women suffer. But there are also women who are, look at the young women in Iran who are opposing the hijab, and the scarf that they have to wear. So there are many such women in the world. It's thankfully it's changing a little bit.
Okay. So did it ever happen that you wrote a haiku and then you went back and then you thought, no, this does not really...
Oh yes, that happens to all writers. Yes. Yeah, you have to... one is always in doubt. I'm always in doubt about what I do. So, yeah, I do revise.
So how do you go about revising a poem that's just 3 lines? Just as a tip for myself.
Yeah, you replace one word with another word. Very, very simple. Yeah.
So do you think that your interest in visual arts and a good understanding of it gives you a certain sharper dimension to look at these images? And
Perhaps, yes, because I've been engaged with the arts most of my life, and I edit, design, and publish a global arts and culture magazine. So I'm constantly, with the arts.
Um, so I feel haiku is about, again coming back to the image bit. It's easier to just sit, and when you think of images, you know that okay, this is the image. Say an ant is crawling. I mean, there are haikus on every possible thing, and you get a certain image out of it because you have to pick two images and just juxtapose them. So it is easier when you sit and probably think, but when you are presented with something that is already there, the picture is already there. So how do you pick what you want to write, or you just?
You mean from a live moment? Yeah, that happens, when I'm sitting at the airport, maybe waiting for my flight, and something just pops up in my head. I see something, and like I saw a whole lot of pigeons once flying inside the airport, and I wrote a haiku. Things like that happen.
Okay. Do you want to read some of your haiku? And
I think they've read the haiku that I showed. Do you need me to read?
no, what I wanted was to probably just read one or two and tell us what was your thought process, what captured you exactly when you were writing that haiku.
Well, without the image, it will be difficult for them.
I was thinking if you can tell them the.
So that's why
describe
I
the
showed this.
Okay, sure. No problem. That's all I had. So, any questions from the audience?
The woodcut prints of Japan are famous, and of course, haiku poetry is also very famous. Is there a link between the two? You may be linking the two, but I never thought that the two are linked.
No, it's not really. I mean, not many people have done this. It's in fact, the Japanese consul general in Bombay was, amazed that I had chosen to do this. Not many have done it. I don't know of anyone who's done it.
And also this, you have obviously written the haiku in English.
Yes.
But haiku is obviously
In Japanese.
In Japanese. So do you also write in Japanese and translate, or how?
No, I don't write in Japanese. No, but in Japanese they're very disciplined about 5 syllables, and I was following 575 in English for a long time, and then I decided to take the liberty of, doing whatever, just as long as I get all my ideas in there. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm going to the erotic part of Ukiyo-e.
Okay.
So you said that the erotic images were just too much, and the book was for universities, so you hadn't put it in there. So what level of erotic are you talking about? Is it like the Kama Sutra level? And was writing the haiku for those images difficult or easy for you?
No, for some reason, those erotic works did not inspire me to write haiku. Not that I'm old-fashioned, no, but it just did not inspire me. Yeah. Yeah, almost. It's kind of, some of them are kind of grotesque, Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah,
I was waiting for you to read the poems. I was disappointed.
You want me to read?
Yes. I mean, poetry is not for the page. It's for reading.
You want me to read the haiku?
Yes, please.
Okay. Restricted to 3 so that people don't fall asleep.
No, please.
Okay, like this one, Miyagabe shows languorous moments on an uneventful day smoking a pipe dream. So also my haiku has layers of meanings, within. This one I told you about, right? Do not crow, rooster. Love's crazy, lazy mornings. Drink deep the sake. This is my, the Catch Me If You Can is from a film, Catch Me If You Can. And he gave me the feeling that, okay, he's kind of, what's the word?
No good. Up to no good.
Yeah, and he's challenging someone, I live by my wits, I dare the flight of time, catch me if you can. And this too, and this. And one of my favorites is actually this one. All the world's armies trained as cannon fodder, they live to die. I feel that's what all soldiers are made to do, to live, to die. And this is, I have a lot of socio-political angst about war and conflict and what is happening in the world and how many innocent people die. And this, in those 3 lines, I'm trying to say it. This is also ironical, with the flow of blood, her imagination's born, the magic of art. This is one of my favorites. The sea swells with water stories, each wave a page. A singing landscape, symphony of nuances, electrifying. And this, of course, the salary man, brooding on a can. Life bewilders, as it does to all of us. Thank you so much for listening patiently. Thank you for staying awake. Arigato gozaimasu.